Military meeting unidentified creatures. War stories are scary enough to frighten even the toughest soldiers. Stories about battlefields and war zones seem so chaotic, they leave many soldiers with PTSD. And if you think that having to fight through flying bullets, exploding grenades, and violence of the highest order is everything soldiers do, then boy are you wrong. The Pentagon recently confirmed that the military has been encountering numerous unidentified flying objects, and UFOs aren't the only bizarre thing soldiers report seeing. Now, in the video, we'll be exploring some of the scariest stories about the military's encounters with unidentified creatures. So grab a snack and make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more videos like this. Without wasting more time, let's begin. Camp Pendleton. A good place to start this video is at Camp Pendleton. It was the fall of 1968 when 4 Marines from Camp Pendleton were totally terrified when they saw a Sasquatch-like creature during the nighttime training. According to an anonymous witness who submitted his report of this bizarre encounter to the BFRO in 2001, he and his companions had finished their training and decided to wade in a dugout hill after midnight when they heard something creeping aside from the mountain. Completely terrified, one of the 4 Marines yelled for whoever it was to halt. It was then that they got a good view of the creature responsible for the disturbance. The witness described in his report that the monster was insanely huge, and according to him, it was about 6 to 7 feet tall, about 3.5 feet wide, with a pointed head and long hanging arms. Terrified about what they had just witnessed, they waited silently as the beast walked out of sight. A lot of people have argued that what they saw was a bear. However, the description given by the witness doesn't really fit one. The Hound of Mons. And if that didn't freak you out, next up we have the Hound of Mons. The encounter happened during one of the most horrendous times in world history, World War I, specifically at one of its first battles, the Battle of Mons. This war didn't just consist of the normal stories of flying bullets and grenades, if any of that is normal, but there were also supernatural tales that originated from this battle. It was fought between the British Expeditionary Force and the German Army, and like most World War I battles, it consisted of 2 opposing fronts, with the no man's land between them. Occasional soldiers of the opposing sides would move into the no man's land to move up on the enemy position. But many of these men kept meeting sudden death. Their fates were only discovered when other soldiers went to recover the bodies. One would think these brave soldiers would have scars or wounds consistent with bullets or grenades, but to everyone's surprise, they were discovered with giant bite marks on their necks. It became clear that these soldiers were falling to a giant animal, not enemy fire. There were a lot of theories about what could have attacked these men, and as there were no eyewitness reports, it seemed like once a soldier came in contact with the beast, there was no escape. The story became a wartime legend, and in 1919, a book about the Hound of Mons was written by a British soldier called F.J. Newhouse. He suggested that the hellhound was a product of some type of scientific experiment made by a German scientist called Dr. Hochmuller to create a giant hound who hunted British soldiers. Pretty crazy, right? Well, this theory has been heavily contested by the public. However, the question of what could give these giant bite marks still remains. The RAF werewolf. Located in Cambridgeshire, England, the Royal Air Force Alconbury had its fair share of strange occurrences. However, according to reports in the early 70s, they had a major werewolf problem. A man named West claimed that when he was stationed at RAF Alconbury in 1970, he had an encounter with a werewolf. According to him, he was assigned to guard the weapon storage area when he started hearing some movements in the bushes around. He initially thought that it was probably a rabbit or a cat or even a wild dog, and there was nothing to worry about. Well, that changed pretty quickly. He was terrified when he saw a 5-foot-tall, hairy creature with a flat snout and wide eyes that was bipedal, which means it walked on its 2 legs like a human. He was so terrified by what he saw that he couldn't even move, talk, or shoot at the beast with the gun in his hand. And this wasn't even the first time there was an encounter like this. Around the same time, Authors John Hanson and Don Holloway turned up 4 separate encounters with bizarre-looking, hairy humanoids. The Giant of Kandahar. For this next one, we'd have to go back in time to 2002, when a squad of U.S. soldiers who went on a routine patrol of the Kandahar area in Afghanistan went radio silent. On getting to the mountains, days went by and the U.S. military began to get worried because there was no contact. So they deployed a special ops squad to find the missing troops. The special ops squad landed at the troops' last known location and began to hike around the mountains. The landscape was rocky, and after some time on the mountain, they discovered their first clue, a trail of broken U.S. military equipment. They followed the trail, and soon the broken equipment was joined by radios and U.S. military uniforms. They assumed this was the work of the Taliban, so they were pumped to find their hideout, when suddenly they stumbled on a cave, and just at the entrance they saw other clothes and bones piled up. As they were trying to get a lay of what could have been in the cave, a giant spear came flying out, fatally hitting one of their men. As the soldiers scrambled for cover, they spotted a 15-foot giant emerge from the cave and storm towards them. Luckily for them, they were able to subdue the monster and took the creature to an unknown destination in a C-130 plane. They were forced to sign DNAs and could only refer to it as an enemy combatant. Their story was kept a secret until 2016, when one of the soldiers anonymously shared the video via a now-deleted YouTube video. It didn't take long, however, for the Department of Defense to speak up, stating that we do not have any record or information about a Special Forces member killed by a giant in Kandahar. Interestingly, a Special Forces soldier called Dan, whose name coincidentally is the same as the man who was reportedly killed by the monster, was killed in Kandahar in 2002. This caused a lot of people to discredit the statement put out by the government. Do you think the government is trying to cover up the case? Or do you think the story is just a hoax? Let us know in the comments section. Anubis in Illinois. Now, if you think any of the previous encounters are disturbing, then hold on to your seats, because this one ranks pretty high on the what the hell scale. It was in late September of 1994 when a former member of the U.S. Navy named Emma had an encounter that changed her life forever. According to her, while she was stationed at a naval hospital in Illinois, she and 2 others, her future husband John, and a mutual friend Jim, had been assigned shore patrol, and all 3 were moving separately around the base, radioing back and forth, when suddenly, around 3 a.m., John didn't respond to Emma. After some time, she decided to check him out at his last known location. She thought he had probably fallen asleep, but to her greatest surprise, when she eventually found him, he was standing and staring at the woods with his mouth agape. He was tongue-tied, so she followed his gaze, and that's when she noticed a tall figure with an odd head. They decided to keep it a secret because they thought that no one would believe them. Plus, she couldn't give a good description of what she saw. It wasn't until she saw a cartoon representation of the Egyptian god Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification and the afterlife. When she saw this, she quickly wrote to author Linda Godfrey about her bizarre experience. So which of these encounters freak you out the most? Let us know in the comments section. And most importantly, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Bye!